Why is this man cute? Seriously, who allowed this? I thought we weren't allowed to be cute. Now most people don't know this about me, but I'm very fond of cute things. Well, certain types of cute things. Not this type of cute, or this one. This one, you know, must protect precious little bean kind of cute. Normally this type of cute is limited to rather specific things for me, so imagine my astonishment when I find a fully grown man cute. But he is. Understandably, this piqued my interest in him, and the more I learnt about him, the more I found that he's basically the shiny Pokemon of streamers. What I mean by this is that there are many things about Sykkuno that are somewhat unusual, two of which being that he not only found success in streaming, he did so insanely fast. Before streaming he was pretty much unknown, which isn't exactly common. Generally most large streamers started by being successful in something else, like esports, YouTube, music, etc., and translating that fanbase over into streaming. Even large streamers who started off by streaming normally spent years grinding out an audience, while Sykkuno already had 2 million followers a year and a bit after the creation of his channel, which puts him in a rather exclusive club of content creators that have seen such explosive growth. Speaking of audiences, another uncommon thing about Sykkuno is that he managed to gain a large female fanbase on Twitch, which, given the fact that only 19% of Twitch users are female, makes it unlikely for a popular streamer to have women make up a large part of their viewership. Though given his character, it is rather unsurprising. Which brings me to the man himself. Now when you see Sykkuno for the first time, you may get the impression that he's just a soft-spoken, shy or bashful person, which is the opposite of what most people would think of when you say popular male streamer, since generally they're quite loud not only verbally, but personality-wise as well. So is he peculiar because he has a bashful personality in an area mostly dominated by people with brash ones? Yes, but actually no. The odd thing about him is that he seems bashful, but he really isn't. You see, Sykkuno's mannerisms, body language, and speech all convey a bashful personality, but the way he acts doesn't exactly match them. He's quite vocal in large collaborations, often starts interactions, isn't afraid to draw attention to himself, is a massive troll, and he does all of this without it seeming forced, which even seemingly brash streamers struggle with at times. All that aside, I haven't even mentioned what is best described as the anime protagonist energy this man exudes. It's hard to explain, but you could easily animate Midoriya or Tanjiro saying half of the things that Sykkuno says, and it wouldn't sound out of place. Take this for example.
And then I started streaming to try and do the same thing, and hopefully try and make some real friends and stuff.
It's remarkable that he started streaming to make friends, and it worked. If I knew how he managed to do it, I would sell that information to all the 30-plus-year-olds who didn't realize their social life died 5 years ago and they have no idea how to make friends anymore. Of course, all of this is just conjecture. I don't know the man personally, and for all I know, he's just an extremely talented actor. Either way, he is still a particularly interesting character. Anyway, it's time to make the chocolates. Well, it's time to make the molds for the chocolates, because I'm not carving chocolate ever again. I'm going to need a reference image to make the mold from. And all I can say is, thank God he uses anime profile pictures because it makes things so much simpler, while at the same time making the end result look a lot better. And done. I love working off really simple images. Alright, time to give this to the printer. I'm going to use my SLA printer this time, since it's better at fine details. I'm surprised at how well this turned out. I made 2 different molds with different depths, solely just because I wanted to see how fine a detail you could get in chocolate. Since it's always good to know how to work with different materials. Who knows, maybe this information will come in handy in the future. I don't know, I may make an edible castle or something when I run low on ideas. Now that that's done, it's time to make the chocolate mold. Oh right, I forgot to mention, this isn't the chocolate mold. This is the chocolate mold. Now to make the chocolate mold, I start by wrapping tape around the outside of the chocolate mold to make a small wall. If I didn't do this, it would get real messy later on. Then I mix up some 2-part silicon mix and pour it in. Now while it says I don't need to degas this silicon, I'm still going to do it anyway, because I don't trust them. So into the vacuum chamber it goes. This is what the tape was for. Without it, the silicon would overflow the mold due to all the bubbling, and go everywhere. I'll hold the vacuum until all the bubbles are gone, and then leave the silicon to set for a while. And with all of that, we now have the chocolate mold. Time to move on to making the chocolates. Though I won't actually be making the chocolate itself from scratch, because I'd rather not. So instead I melted down some chocolate chips and added some vegetable oil to make the chocolate easier to work with. To try and get the best detail I can out of this, I decided to use a brush to apply a layer of chocolate with hopefully no bubbles in it, before pouring the rest in. Well, that turned out as well as could be expected. While I did get most of the details, I didn't manage to get all of the bubbles out, unfortunately. And I also heated it a bit too much, causing the chocolate to bloom, which is that weird whitish looking stuff, but it's still perfectly edible. And with that limited success, it's time to get experimental. Maybe I can use some peppermint patty stuffing as a thin layer and use milk chocolate as the background. Experiment failed. It could have been that I used too much condensed milk, or too much icing sugar, or that when you microwave condensed milk plus icing sugar, you summon an abomination that will curse everything it touches to failure. Who knows? Now it's time to try white chocolate, I think. Now I didn't know this, but it turns out white chocolate doesn't exactly act the same as milk chocolate, and I can't just mix in the same proportions of vegetable fat as I did with milk chocolate. Oops. After fixing the consistency, I did the same thing that I did with milk chocolate, and got remarkably similar results, but with less bloom. After filling the molds, I have a fair amount of chocolate left, so I decided to put the rest of the white chocolate into my vacuum chamber, because I think I know what will happen, and then I put that to the side to set. The white chocolate performed a lot better than the milk chocolate. It has less bubbles and bloom. And this is everything together. Now it's pretty hot down here in hell currently, so I couldn't film much without the melting. But I believe I got enough to show that I'm bad at cinematography. That's all for now. The next video will probably be about cute and how it's a fairly weird emotion, or something I threw together last minute. Honestly, it's a coin flip at this point. Oh, and one last thing, to everyone who actually knows how to cook or work with chocolate and made it to the end of this video, I am so sorry.